Hello everyone and welcome to the Sweet 16 episode of the Six Sided Podcast. As usual, I'm your host, the Taxman, and this week I'm joined by a very special guest, which I'm going to get to in just a minute's time. Before that, I just want to thank all of our new subscribers on our YouTube page. We've had tremendous growth actually in the last couple of weeks, and I couldn't have done it without all the help that I get from everybody spreading the word, both on YouTube and on Twitter, so thank you all very, very much. I wouldn't have nobody listen to the show if it wasn't for you guys, so thank you all very much for that. Speaking of Twitter, we're very close to, if we haven't already passed it, 1,000 followers on Twitter, which is pretty impressive considering I just, started this not too long ago. And once again, I could not do it without all the help and support from all of you guys listening to the show each and every week. Thank you all for continuing to stick with me, even though I'm a little bit sporadic sometimes in getting my reviews out, but I like to think that at least when I get them out, that it's at least quality, enjoyable content, and you guys enjoy listening to it, and perhaps that's why you keep coming back, and if nothing else, maybe you keep coming back to hear what mistakes I make each and every week. But with that being said, this week I'm joined by Michael Larkin. Now, for those of you who don't know, you're going to hear about his backstory kind of in the podcasting realm, as it were. The stable of podcasters, as I dub them in the show that you'll hear right away. And this dude is so knowledgeable about a ton of different promotions. Like, was telling me things that even I didn't know about a ton of talents that are currently in Impact, some people that he's kind of on the lookout for, and just in general, the amount of wrestling knowledge that he has is like just mind-boggling. And there were times in our interview where you may notice that I've kind of been taken aback. That's just because I'm blown away by the amount of knowledge that he has. So once again, joined by Mike Larkin. You're going to hear him right away. And yeah, it was just, it felt like we talked for 20 minutes and we put in an hour, and it's incredible. And I have not edited this at all. I'm just going to play it through its entirety because I really feel like the topics that we covered and all of the, shall we say, knowledge that he dropped on me it was so free-flowing, it makes total sense, and it's all related to Impact Wrestling. So I've chosen to not edit this at all, to present it as is. And I think that you guys are really going to get a kick out of it. So without further ado, I'm going to throw it to my conversation with Mike Larkin. So everyone, I'm very happy to be joined tonight by a very special guest. We have Michael Larkin from the Heelcast. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. How about yourself, Taxman?
I'm doing very well. Thank you very much. For those of you who don't know, which is a shame because you should, Mike is part of, let's call you guys a stable of podcasters with the Heelcast. So for anybody who maybe doesn't know what you guys are about, do you want to give a quick spiel?
Absolutely. Well, I'm a part of the Heelcast, which you can check out on Twitter, _Heelcast. We just talk about Impact each and every week. A lot of us guys, such as Robert Does Wrestling, Impact Dude, Raven Effect, Kyle. There's a lot of great people involved on the Heelcast. I mean, they've had interviews before with guys like, Petey Williams, Aiden O'Shea, Decay. It's just all around fun just talking about Impact each and every week. They just did a old nostalgia show. They're looking back at 2006 to 2009, and they just finished off their 2007 episode. It was Robert, Hurls, and Raven Effect, so there's a little nostalgia for you there. I got involved because I do my other stuff. It's the S&M Show Podcast Network. I'm on SoundCloud, MC Larkin92, SM Show 1 on Twitter. I'm a big wrestling fan. I talk a lot about wrestling there. I've had a lot of great interviewers on that as well. I interviewed who you saw make his in-ring debut tonight, Killer Kross. I've interviewed a lot of Impact, even originals as well. You got the likes of Trinity, Kid Cash. I've interviewed D-Ray 3000, Lance Hoyt. So I love professional wrestling, and I just love wrestling overall as a whole. So just to be talking Impact with you tonight, it's a pleasure for me. I love shooting the breeze about professional wrestling, talking Heelcast, wherever. I'm happy, man.
For me, and I gotta give you a thank you as well, because you always put me on the Follow Fridays, which is tremendous. And I've honestly, because I kind of go through the list and I follow all those who I met not of before, and it's actually led me to a lot of different podcasts and different promotions to look into and wrestlers to check out. So you do a killer job about that, and that's one thing I think that's kind of overlooked in a lot of this is like just a little grassroots kind of connection, if you will, that we kind of all share and are all able to get out of this whole podcasting thing. For me, it's just a ton of fun, and like obviously kicking it and talking Impact Wrestling is just a blast. Like it's just when you have a few people that really enjoy what they're watching, it's not even like it's not work, right? It's not anything monotonous or whatever. You just, hey man, let's shoot the breeze, and maybe we liked whatever, maybe we didn't, but hey, we can have a great time talking about it at least. And I think that's really really a neat thing about this whole, not really subculture, I wouldn't say, but a lot of the network of Impact podcasters that are kind of working together right now, and it's, for me, it's just super neat.
Oh, yeah, man. And you know what it is, too? And I'll mention the Follow Friday. Of course, I got to give you a shout-out there, man. I work with a lot of great people, and I've listened to your stuff. I dig what you do. And the thing is, too, man, at all facets of life, I'll put this, podcasting, whatever, as long as you're having fun and you're enjoying what you're doing and you're happy, that's really all that matters. Yeah,
I couldn't agree more. And honestly, I'm quite sure you feel the same, but if I didn't like doing it, I wouldn't do it. You know what I mean?
True,
like
exactly, yeah.
So... All right, so I guess we'll just get into the meat and potatoes, if you will, of the show tonight. We'll just run through the matches, and there were a ton of talking points, so I'm sure that we'll get into that as well. So the show after the cold open, which they do such a tremendous job of, it sets the tone for the night, in my opinion, each and every show. We had Rich Swann versus Phoenix. Now, I will confess that I'm not much of a... luchador style wrestling admirer, if you will, but Jesus, this match blew me away.
Dude, it was excellent. I mean, as a guy who's a fan of Rich Swann, I've seen him do his thing on the WWE side of things in the Cruiserweight division, CCW, all around the independent circuits, up, down, all around. He's a tremendous athlete and an asset to the X division. You got a guy like Ray Phoenix who's doing his thing on Lucha Underground, and in Impact, he's another one that's great. Had a great feud with Mil Muertes on Lucha Underground, so there's a nice tie in there. And these two guys, balls to wall, the double cutters, the flips, oh my God, just everything all around, and that twisted muscle buster at the end was just sick on Phoenix's part. I think overall the match delivered, and the crowd was into it. They were very hyped.
See, and that was like a hand clap for the live crowd, because I swear if that was at the Impact Zone, the crowd would have went mild. It wouldn't have had the same effect, you know what I mean? And it was nice that they were into it like right from the get-go. And for me, that just, it adds that extra dynamic to the match. And yeah, the double cutter spot was like, my goodness, it was just so tremendous. The way that they played off each other, like even the mat work at the beginning of the match, where I loved Rich Swann's little dance moves there when he's kind of hopping up off the mat, but just all the little things like that. Like I just like, you're waiting for the next thing. Like how can you top that? And then they do, and then okay, like what's next? And you're just kind of sitting there like I was literally like, when they hit the finish, I was like, I can't believe, like, that was a pay-per-view quality match, in my opinion. I was just floored. It was so good.
Dude, the guys and the gals had to follow a great opening contest. I loved each and every minute of it, the athleticism of both men. Like you mentioned, Swann doing the flips, and same with Phoenix. I mean, just two guys are graceful at what they do, the luchador style, the high-octane aerial assault. It was a recipe for a great match.
So after the match, we had OVE make an appearance. They ran down the ring and started giving a beat down to Phoenix. And we see Pentagon Jr., or so we think, hit the ring and take out OVE. And out of nowhere, he turns on Phoenix and gives him the Pentagon Driver. And it's revealed to, guess who won the pony? Sami Callihan. And they try and take Phoenix's mask from him. And we have Rich Swann come in and make the save. To me, this just makes so much sense. Like, you're building this Sami Callihan, Pentagon Jr. hair versus mask match at Slammiversary. This just adds that extra layer. Like, it keeps it fresh while still maintaining that kind of rivalry at the forefront of everything.
Oh yeah, and you know what it is too? I love the dynamic just because I'm a big Pentagon Jr. fan, and what Sammy Callahan does and Lucha as Jeremiah Crane, so I thought that's a great another tie-in at Lucha Underground. But man, just to see the three of them, and next week they announced we're going to get the six-man tag with OVE, Rich Swann, Phoenix, and Pentagon Jr. I think it's just an all-around great dynamic, and I just look forward to see where this feud progresses. And also, man, Lucha Libre right there, that's just a classic matchup, mask versus hair. We've seen so many of them, so overall I thought it was a great dynamic.
And that's such like an old school angle that I know a lot of people kind of were like, a hair match. But like if you look back throughout like wrestling history, some of the greatest matches were stipulations based on that. And I really enjoyed actually, Don Callis made it a very good point to do it on commentary, talking about how Sammy Callahan's had this hair his whole career, right? That's part of him. It's part of his persona. He's proud of it. And to have your pride on the line, like whereas a mask would be your pride on the line, it was just was a really nice touch. And just the little things like that, I think, is what's kind of setting them apart at this point in time.
And that's what added a lot to it, the emphasis of Don Callis talking about Sammy's hair. So yeah, I think Don's emphasis on commentary added a lot to that as well.
So we get to our second match, and you had mentioned him earlier in the show here, your interview with Killer Kross. We had Killer Kross's debut versus Falaba with the newly reformed Falaba and KM, which I'm very happy about because when they kind of teased that they were kind of done with that, and I was like, it's too early. Like, I feel like there's still quite a bit of miles that they could go. So I'm very happy that they're back together. So this match was, Jesus, a hell of a debut for Killer Kross, I gotta say.
Oh, yeah, dude. I've seen this guy do his thing in AAA. He's wrestled the likes of, he's been in there with Taya Valkyrie. He's been in there with Johnny Mundo, Johnny Impact. There's a guy who wrestled Gangrel. He's been in there with a lot of great people. I mean, he was in the original GFW. I think he's done some matches for Lucha Underground. The guy is an all-around, pound-for-pound, an amazing athlete. And obviously, the whole thing with Falaba, he took him out. He was one of the guys that Falaba took out. The dynamic with them and KM, Killer Kross locks in the chokehold, and Falaba passes out. His chest was beat-ass red. Killer Kross from those chops. And then
I loved that, by the way. That was like the whole. I know people criticize no selling sometimes, but that is a perfect use of no selling. By the way, not to cut you off.
Absolutely, Taxman. I got to add to that as well. I'll go right back with you. Man, the dude was just, the way the character was emphasized, like, hit me, just hit me. And the guy was just psychotic in what he did. It added all more to the match. And then, KM, he's going to help his buddy Falaba, but in the end, he gets himself taken out. P.D. Williams comes out, hits him with the chair, and then we have a nice little dichotomy there. Killer Kross goes out, lands on his feet, and we're going to get a Killer Kross P.D. Williams match, it looks like, in the future. So there you go. It all comes back one full circle.
I loved the visual impact of P.D. Williams hits him with the chair the first time, and the slow turn and just the look on P.D. Williams' face was perfect. Like, again, we talk about the little things, like, that was like, I'm sold. Like, give me this match, I'm in 100%. And then, yeah, I agree, like, with Killer Kross doing the rollout, and then he's pointing to his wrist like your time is up, like, or the TikTok, right? TikTok, yeah. Yep. And it just everything about that was so fantastic, and that chokehold, man, that looked really good.
It just accentuates him, man. Like, this guy has a very, very bright future. And I just really look forward to seeing where he progresses, because I remember seeing him on GFWN. This was a guy, he's working out in the 100-plus degrees, just going at it, going hard in the paint. I mean, here's a guy in the original GFW. He wrestled guys like Bobby Roode. He wrestled guys like Brian Myers, a.k.a. Kurt Hawkins. But this is a guy that really puts in that effort and really is, really is passionate about professional wrestling. And you got to respect that. He's also a guy who was influenced by Brian Pillman. So, again, that whole dynamic was great.
See, and it's funny because you kind of pick that little Brian Pillman influence up from, like, this guy's a loose cannon. He, like, literally is, right? And you just, like, I love the lines as well that they were saying, like, look into his eyes, there's nothing. The dude is, like, ice cold. It's awesome. And, yeah, when you're talking about Impact lately, you're talking about character development, and man, they're hitting their stride with this guy 100%. So our next match, we had a tag team knockouts match. We had Madison and Allie versus Su Yung with the Undead Bridesmaid, which I kind of found it funny on Twitter. I'm not sure if you were on much during the show. A lot of people were speculating that the Undead Bridesmaid was actually Casey Spinelli, which I thought was tremendous.
Well, I'll be honest with you, I was in one of those conversations because I said I'm a big Casey Spinelli 2 Scoops fan. I think the girl's amazing, but it's so funny because I'm watching the dynamic go on. Is that Casey Spinelli? Is that her? Is she one of the Undead Brides? And one of her responses was no, and then she wrote ew next to it. So
yeah, I saw that too. I thought that was tremendous. This match, I understand they're kind of forwarding the whole Madison Rayne storyline here, and she's got to pile up the wins because I'm assuming that Su Young's going to bury her at Slammiversary. But yeah, this match to me just seemed a little bit disjointed. I don't know, and the crowd didn't really seem into this one, not as much as the first 2 matches.
I think because they had, you look at pretty much what they were doing with the whole, Undead Maid of Honor thing. She was in zombie-like, but she was in there working it. And Su Yung is amazing. And you got Madison Rayne and Allie. And I think just in case, like you mentioned with Slammiversary, man, it's a chance for Su Yung to be the veteran, so to speak, with the knockouts. Madison Rayne, former 5-time knockout champion, the beautiful people, the Queen Bee. So it accentuates Su Yung, and we get to have her, beat a veteran, which I think is the whole end game here. But I'm just like, yeah, the match was okay, and Madison Rayne hits the cross rain, as it's called, the crossroads for the 1, 2, 3. So yeah.
So we had a little bit of not a little bit of interference, because I swear the ref was checking his eyes for about 5 minutes there. Yeah. We had Tessa Blanchard hit the ring and cause a spot of bother, as Marty Scurll would say, but to no avail. We have Madison Rayne end up getting the win, as you said. Of note, she obviously pinned the Undead Bridesmaid, so we kind of save Su Yung in this one. She's able to save face, but the one spot I really enjoyed of this was Allie running the ring apron and doing the dive on the 3 other bridesmaids, like on the far side. Like, I thought that was tremendous, and that's like kind of showing a different side of her, like, finally, because to me, I couldn't really ever, and this is just me personally, I could never really buy Allie. There was always something about her that was too, it was just not enough. And now she's kind of adding these darker elements, these riskier elements, and actually, going for things that are outside of her comfort zone, which I think is helping her character development immensely.
Oh, yeah, dude. It's like she mentioned in the promo, Rosemary helped her get the good and the evil in her. So, it's another side of Allie. And again, like you mentioned, the character development-wise. And I have to ask you as well, since you did mention Marty Scurll, it was announced we got Marty Scurll and Sami Callihan on the Jericho Cruise. How do you feel? What do you think?
I love it. Did you catch the Marty Scurll little teaser video? Well, it was a promo, dude, we'll call it that. But it's fantastic. And with the globe and everything about that was just so well done. But yeah, if there's anybody from the Ring of Honor locker room that should have answered Sami Callihan's challenge, there's no better person than Marty Scurll. You have literally the draw versus the villain, and it's magic.
It is, and the thing with Sami Callihan, too, is I'll mention this right now, because we mentioned the 6-man's happening next week. To see Sami Callihan and Rich Swann, who are very good friends in real life, go back to the CCW days, these guys are going to have great chemistry in the ring, and that, I'll tell you right now, if you want to see Sami Callihan have a feud or just have more in-ring action with, you got to put him in there at Rich Swann. I think that would be a great matchup. I'll just put that out there right now, because they've had so much chemistry on the indies, and just from being real-life friends, I think that would make for a nice dynamic for the future.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that, because I don't remember where I heard it, but I heard somebody talking about that, and I was like, well, that's really interesting, because you would never think that looking at the way that Sami wrestles, right? But it makes like, hindsight's 20/20, and you see how they're interacting in the ring here tonight, and it's just like, well, of course that makes perfect sense, right? Like, but Sami Callihan to me seems like one of these guys that can go in there and kind of work almost any style. Like, he seems to me to be one of these guys that is very easily adaptable to change his style to suit whoever he's in the ring with. And yeah, if you're in the ring with Rich Swann, man, like, that could be fireworks for sure.
Yeah, and it's interesting also because the other thing I'll mention about Sam is, man, a lot of people forget he was trained by the Great Les Thatcher, Heartland Wrestling Association. Guys like Shark Boy came from there. Guys like, Dean Ambrose, guy who Sammy Callahan teamed with on the Indies for a little bit. Guys like Nigel McGuinness. Girls like Kelly Klein, who was doing her thing in Women of Honor. So there's a lot of prestige coming from that wrestling school.
It's funny. Sometimes you always hear about these small pockets of either trainees or schools or whatever, and just like everybody seems to come out, not everybody, but like a large amount of successful people come out of the same area or the same development. Just it's such an interesting dynamic, and then go figure, they wind up in Impact together, so that's not a bad fit, if you will. So
exactly.
So the next match that we had up was Katarina versus Rebel. This was Katarina's re-debut with Impact Wrestling in the ring, because she's been doing the thing with Grado for a little bit, because she did the there was the foiled Grado match at the last tapings at the Dead Zone or the Impact Zone, whatever you want to call it. But so anyways, this was her reintroduction, if you will, and again, I don't know what it was. It just seemed that the two women were just disconnected, that's all, in this match.
Okay, what can I say about Katarina Rebel? I gotta tell you something right now. I love Rebel. I think she's a great individual, but I gotta say, wrestling, she's alright. I think she's a beautiful woman, though, don't get me wrong. I think Katarina's the stronger of the two. I mean, man, I've seen Katarina when she was Katie Lee Burchill wrestling Mickie James on Night of Champions 08, wrestling Beth Phoenix on a ladder match for OVW. I mean, the girl's got skills. And, I thought the match was fine. It was what it needed to be, man. It was just Katarina showcasing herself, both women showcasing themselves, and we get another story there because Joe Coffey makes his Impact debut, and we got the 3 Tandem there, which I like to tie in there because ICW, Insane Championship Wrestling, UK, man. I mean, these two have history together, so it's overall, I'll use the word again, be repetitious, dynamic, but man, it's going to be fun going forward with those three together.
To me, this match was more about, like you said, setting up that new dynamic, and I found it interesting at the very start of the show that Josh Matthews kept making a point about saying we're simulcasting live right now in the UK, and he kept saying it, and then obviously why he was making a point of saying it. So I thought that was well done, and the reveal was great.
Yeah, I gotta say this right now. If anybody has not seen Joe Coffey, you are in for a treat.
I'm interested to see what they do with him. Like, in terms of, I don't know that I want to see him in a tag team with Grado per se. Although, like, I guess there's a few ways you could go with that. But yeah, I'm very curious to see where they go with him, and I hope that he at least has a featured spot, not right away, but in due time gets a featured spot, because he's a hell of a talent.
And the thing is too, like I said, I'm a wrestling fan. Everything, I love how the ICW talent are doing the whole thing with the NXT UK thing, and it adds another UK name there, man. Because I know that Joe Coffey's talented. If you've seen Grado on ICW and the pops he get when he was coming out to Like a Prayer, and you know how we see him in Impact, doing his comedy thing. But they're assets, man. Just UK talent. Bring them more international flavor. And
it's funny too, because I'm gonna sidetrack a little bit here, but now they're bringing back the World of Sport. And I don't know if they've been announcing slowly members of that roster, and there's some big names on that, and this is all just such a great tie into World of Sport's there, and they're gonna get that one off the ground. I'm not sure if Impact's involved or not. It doesn't really matter. What matters is how hot the UK scene is right now. So it makes sense that you're gonna start bringing in some name stars over here, because if your goal is to expand your global network, pun intended, this is the way to go. Like, you need to be able to pull stars from every region of the world, essentially, and not just, run of the mill whoever, like actual name guys that have star power value that can add to your brand, and at the same time you can grow their brand in the United States. It's just such a nice dynamic and a nice relationship that they're forming right now.
Agreed. Wholeheartedly, man. So
speaking of tremendous talent, our main event of the night tonight was Kongo Kong versus Brian Cage. My God, this Honestly, when they announced this match, I was like, I wish they would save it for a pay-per-view. And I watched the match, and I was like, Jesus, they should have saved that for a pay-per-view. Like, that was a tremendous match.
I'll add a shameless plug for myself here very briefly. I also did interview Kongo Kong not too long ago. Kongo Kong is an amazing
hang on. Whoa. So where can they find that interview with Kongo Kong?
Sure, dude. SoundCloud, MC Larkin92, or just go on my Twitter at SM Show1. Everything's there.
Perfect.
So, dude, Kongo Kong. Whew. I gotta say this right now. Dude works hard. I've seen him in the original GFW. I think this is his best showcase to date. I love what they did with Brian Cage, the Hurricane Rana, my God. And the thing is, too,
that was crazy.
The thing is, too, man, and I'll add right to the aspect, yes, it was crazy, but, dude, I've seen this dude do a moonsault on the indies. He's heavily inspired by the late, great, may he rest in peace, Big Van Vader. The guy can move. I've seen him do these things, and I was very happy to see him showcase this in the match with Impact. And Brian Cage is another one. Just lifted him like he's nothing. The world's strongest slams, another Hurricane Rana by him, lifted him. That F5 was impactful, and just, man, I really am looking forward to seeing what they do with Brian Cage, and they got me invested with Kongo Kong. So overall, it was a win-win. I love the match.
Yeah, I haven't seen too much of Kongo Kong's stuff from the independents. But from what I have seen, I was always kind of waiting for him to kind of showcase some of that in Impact. Granted, he hasn't really had the opponents to do it against. And, man, they had the perfect one tonight. Because, yeah, like that Hurricane Rana reversal from the top rope was fucking insane. And I don't know if you caught it, but they definitely edited out the holy shit chants. Because you could see the whole, like, first 3 rows on the hard camera side. They were all saying it. And if you listen close, you could hear the audio kind of like it cut down a few decibels, and I just thought that was tremendous. But this match was absolutely dynamite. Like, and now, like, I don't even think that they're done. Like, I don't think that this match ends that feud. In fact, I think that you could have now Kongo Kong and Jimmy Jacobs kind of go back to the drawing board. Like, okay, how the fuck are we gonna beat this guy? And come at him again. And I think, like, really, like, this could be an ongoing thing if they really wanted to pursue that route.
I'm going to say it goes either one of two ways. Because the whole thing with Kongo Kong, I'd love to see more, that we'd have a nice series out of it. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, we still got unfinished business with Matt Sydal, and he may want to go back for that X Division Championship. So I could see him and Sydal going back there as well. I'm intrigued, man. I'll tell you, I'm intrigued. And another thing is, too, man, I'll make that Lucha Underground tie-in. You see what he's doing with Kongo Kong here, and if you look on the Lucha Underground side, he's going after Pentagon Jr., who's the Lucha Underground champion. So we're going to get Brian Cage and Pentagon over there, and we get more of this over here. So it's a win-win for all us Brian Cage fans, if you will.
Yeah, that guy, like, Mr. Get My Shit In, he definitely did. And, and everything looks, like, the guy's just tremendous. Like, I honestly, I don't want to be a big fanboy or whatever, but, like, yeah, the guy's a one-in-a-lifetime talent, in my opinion. Like, you just don't see anybody. And that top rope somersault dive was like, what the fuck? Like, I watched that, and I rewound it and watched it, because I'm like, because I had to see the height right over the top rope, and it was crazy. Like I said, like, this match, if that happened on a pay-per-view, I'm the happiest guy ever. And the fact that it happened here, just on television, kind of leads me to believe that maybe these two aren't done yet, which I hope is the case. So I guess we'll see what happens in the near future.
I'll tell you straight up, man, my mouth, you know what it is? I like the dive that you're talking about, but man, once that Hurricane Rana came from Kongo Kong, my mouth dropped. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. Again, that's just like one of those, did I just see that? Right? That's the first thing I thought. And I'm like, holy shit, I just saw that, right? But, like, that's one of those things that you just, like, when you can just get lost in a match, like, like, nothing else matters around. You're not on your phone, right? You're not worrying about whatever else. You're that invested in a match when something like that happens, and you're, like, dumbfounded. Like, I feel like that just shows you how good that match was, and how invested, or how easy it was to get invested in a match like that. It was so well done.
Oh yeah, man. Like I said, I got no complaints. I really thought the whole entire show was solid, but then we get to Conan and the King, which I'm very much looking forward to talk about right now, because that was just wow.
Yeah, so earlier on in the show, or actually starting last week, Conan was saying that he has proof that Kingston, called King now, had set the hit out on Conan, and that's who had taken him out, and King's denying it, and the whole time Diamante was always kind of giving the shifty eyes. We're going back a few episodes now, giving him the shifty eyes, not really buying what he's selling, and it all came to a head tonight, and my God, what a re-debut, if you will, for Homicide and Hernandez. Jesus Christ.
Ooh, I got to tell you right now, and I'll say this as someone like Mr. Eddie Kingston from New York. Dude, that's New York right there. That was him being real, and just Conan being real. Like, you know, I'm Long Island. I'm a suburban boy, but I got peoples in Queens, Brooklyn, Staten Island. So I get the whole street vibe from it, and I get where Conan and they were coming with that whole dynamic. I mean, it's art imitating life because it's real. It's just them being real with the volume turned all the way up as far as their characters. And then you see, you know, Santana and Ortiz flipping the bird for putting the head out on Conan, and then you see Homicide and Hernandez come back in. And I'll be honest, one of my favorite things just about that whole team is, just besides Homicide and Hernandez, but man, I love the cop killer, the gringo killer. I love that finisher. I love the border toss because it's a sick move. So I'm looking forward to the matchup that we're probably going to have between these two, the OGs LAX versus the new LAX, Santana and Ortiz. And just Homicide and Hernandez, man, just coming out of the gate. And it was fire, man. It was a great way to close off a very solid show, man. I really dug it.
So, first thought last, I'm going to say that this show to me was as close to a home run as you could almost get. It had enough quality matches with quality setups between everything and furthering all the storylines. They were able to, without really emphasizing certain people or emphasizing certain storylines per se, but they were able to kind of set the tone more towards Slammiversary and beyond, because you had them go back to the Eddie Edwards and Tommy Dreamer thing. They had the Tommy Dreamer promo, right? You had now Allie's back and she's talking about, you know, what Rosemary did for her and where she can go in her career. Now you have, even going into Slammiversary now, the 6-man for next week, and there's so many interweaving and intermingling stories that A, were coming into this one, and B, were just furthered coming out of it. Just, this is a fantastic show. Getting back to your first point with the old school LAX, like, I really think that if they do this, well, there's like lots of ways they could do it well, but, and obviously they're proving that the way that they're handling all these multiple storylines to keep everything fresh. But to me, this thing could simmer and just go for months and months if they really wanted to. Like, this could be like what and I'm going to go on a little tangent here. This could be what the Bullet Club Civil War storyline in New Japan and Ring of Honor should have been. I'm not sure how familiar you are with that stuff, but they kind of went there with the Bullet Club. They kind of went in that direction, and then they kind of went away from it, and then it never worked, right? It never seemed natural. This is natural. This is like 6 guys from the hood who, like, you have no idea what they're going to do. Like when I had heard rumblings that maybe Homicide might be coming back, but I sure as hell didn't hear that it was going to be in this capacity. And then I sure as hell didn't hear that Homicide was coming as well. So when this happened, like, I was legitimately like, this is incredible. Like, I can't believe this just happened.
I agree, and you know, I've seen the Bullet Club stuff. I got no problem with it. I'm a Ring of Honor New Japan guy, and I think they're doing Kenny Omega and Cody now this Saturday for the IWG Championship, where the winner is going to be the member of the Bullet Club, the Soul on of the Bullet Club. But yeah, man, as far as LAX goes, oof, I'm invested, man. I'm invested because, like I said, LAX was always one of my favorite teams. Dude, I even remember when they first started before Hernandez. It was Homicide. You had a guy by the name of Ricky Vega who was Machete. You had Apollo in there for a little bit who was in the WWC, and then it was Homicide Hernandez. That's the formation that clicked. And yes, they added Salinas, aka Shelly Martinez, down the line, but it was always Homicide Hernandez. That's what you associate with LAX.
I can never remember if he was in LAX at the time, but I'm always drawn back to an old promo that Conan did in early TNA, where he cut it's like a 5-minute promo about how they don't respect Latinos and all this stuff. And I can't remember if I gotta find this promo, and maybe I can find a link to it somewhere. But it was essentially like how TNA is racist towards the Latinos and all this stuff, and it's just like one of the most, like, at the time it was cutting edge, and now like in on 2018 eyes, it's just like, if it just makes that whole dynamic that much greater. But it just furthers your point of, like, you can buy into these guys because it's real, right? Because, like, I can look at these guys and I can believe everything they say because they've probably been there, but more so it's them as a person. Just the volume's turned up. It's so well done, and I'm so happy that Impact is actually allowing their talent to have a lot of direction, a lot of say in their characters, rather than, being spoon-fed lines or being, kind of told what to portray. Like, for myself, and I said this a few episodes ago, and I keep coming back to it because I find it's more pertinent each time I talk about it. But for me, Kingston himself, right, when I saw him when he was with the DCC, I was like, I don't get it. Like, this guy just has nothing for me, right? Him and Bram, to be honest, were just like, there was nothing there for me. And I'm seeing him now, and I'm like, where was this guy? Like, this guy is like light years ahead better. Like, where was he? Was he kind of buried in that whole old school way of, okay, you're this character and here's your lines and go out there and do your thing? Where now it's like, okay, here's your general direction, do your thing, but make it work.
I think what you had with Kingston, because I've seen this dude on the indies. I remember seeing him at a house indie show on Long Island. He wrestled a gentleman by the name of the Devil's Outlaw Stockade. It was a great match, great hardcore match. I mean, the guy is a tremendous competitor. So when he came in with the DCC, like, I like all three guys. I like Storm, I like Bram, I like Eddie King. So I was happy to see him get the opportunity, but it's like, you question yourself. It's like, why is he not with LAX? He was a perfect fit, and as we've seen, weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks, it's just excellent. It's a great vibe. It's a great overall fit.
Yeah, I have to agree. Every week I'm just more impressed. Both the way that he is developing his character, and the dude's a rock star on the mic. Like, he's a talker, and I never knew that before, but sure as hell I'm finding it out now. Like, it's just incredible, the transformation I'm seeing from him. It's really incredible.
Oh, yeah, and dude, I gotta mention this. I don't think we covered this, but man, Tommy Dreamer cutting that promo, bloody face and all at House of Hardcore. We got Eddie Edwards and Tommy Dreamer House of Hardcore rules match at Slammiversary.
I loved everything about that promo. I loved his intensity, the way he was looking at the camera. I loved the language. I loved the way he emphasized certain things. The name dropping was nice too. Like, he's been in the ring with Mick Foley. He's been in the ring with Terry Funk, yeah, that was the other one. And just like, and you look back through time and you're like, yeah, like, this guy, they call him the hardcore legend for a reason. Like, the dude is hardcore. So I'm curious to see what they do for a match between these two. If it's going to be, I assume it's going to be a hardcore match, but you never really know, right? They might flip the script and have just a standard match in the ring and really kind of see where else this thing goes to a next level if they choose to.
Oh, yeah, and like I said, I love the language, motherfucker, you want crazy, he's pretty much saying, the motherfuckers, you think I want to fuck your wife? No, look at me. I thought that was great. It was raw, it was real, it was original ECW Tommy Dreamer. It's the innovator of violence, but it's just like, all right, motherfucker, you want crazy? I'll give you crazy. I'm the innovator of violence. I thought it was great driven, and nobody makes me bleed on my own show. So it was Tommy Dreamer coming raw in it, and then they come back to the graphic with Callis and Josh Matthews, and then we find out that we're going to get a House of Hardcore match between the two at Slammiversary. So I got to say, I'm intrigued.
I have to say, like, not just his promo, but the language direction that they're going, and I'm not saying that every promo is going to have a swear in it and whatever, that's not what I'm getting at, but the vocabulary and the presentation and the way that they're laying these things out now, you can tell that it's a lot more personal or personality driven rather than somebody handing them a sheet of lines to read, right? It just, all the promos, well, save for a couple, but in this particular show, like, that one was great. I loved the one with Jimmy Jacobs.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you could tell that Alicia just had no idea what he was going to do.
Dude, I'll tell you something about Jimmy Jacobs. I've seen him do his thing wrestling on the mic. The man is gold. Like, dude, I go back with the Ring of Honor days with him teaming with BJ Whitmer. I remember the first time I actually saw Jimmy Jacobs wrestle. He actually wrestled the late, great Eddie Guerrero on WWE SmackDown back in 2005.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes. I remember DIFH, Do It For Her. It was him and Tyler Black, a.k.a. Seth Rollins. The dude is an amazing talent in-ring, and the dude's just an asset wherever he goes. So he's someone you can learn a lot. Him and Kongo Kong started together back in 1998, so that's what's great about the connection, because, again, those guys are real-life friends, and like I said, man, it's just they feed off of one another. Kongo doesn't even have to say anything. He just has to look scary and sniff Alicia's hair like he did in that promo.
I love that. I loved it.
Just let him go. Let him go.
But you can tell, right? Like, I can look at those two on camera, and I can just tell that there's something that, like, there's chemistry there. Like, they don't look just put together. They don't look like, or, sometimes you get where one guy's trying to outshine the other one, or one guy maybe doesn't want to be there as much, and it translates on camera. To me, when I watch these guys, right, it just looks like solid. It looks like there's some real chemistry there. And yeah, I never knew until a couple of weeks ago that they actually went back that far. And I'd heard Jimmy Jacobs on a Killing the Town episode, and he was talking about that exact thing, like how far back they went in their friendship. And I was just like, well, now it totally makes sense, right? You see him on camera, and it's why would I think that before almost?
Oh, yeah, dude. And like I said, if you got, like, that great dynamic in real life, just accentuate it and just let it flow on live TV. It's a great pairing.
And then I always find that the things that you don't have to write are way, 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 way better than anything you could ever possibly write. So when you have that natural chemistry, when you have a storyline that evolves out of something that wasn't meant to happen, a la the Bat incident, right? When you have people who have been in the ring not together for a few years and now are in the same place, like Callahan and Rich Swann that you were talking about, right? You have all of these moving parts that were maybe never meant to be, but now are, and it just kind of writes itself. It's way better than anything you could ever sit down and and do a storyboard about. It's so natural, and I'm very excited to see where everything kind of goes. Obviously heading into Slammiversary, and then if Slammiversary is, man, that card is really, really shaping up to be something special.
Dude, I gotta ask you this as well. The Desi Hit Squad, we saw them just, getting trained there by Gama Singh. I mean, Gama Singh, here's a guy that was in Stampede Wrestling for Stu Hart. I mean, here's a guy that appeared on WWF back in the day. I know he's done some work in Puerto Rico. So the dude is, he has history in the biz. Been around for many long time. So I gotta ask you, you have the team, and besides, he's also Jinder Mahal's uncle, which apparently I did some research. He's Jinder Mahal's uncle. So you have the team with Gursinder Singh. You got Rohit Raju, the former Akeem Zayn. What do you think about them going forward? I know they had one match, but what do you think of the training regimen and the menage about it, the whole thing?
See, for me, that just because you always see, not always, but you'll see wrestlers working out in the gym, right? You'll see the backstage workout, whatever. But this is so different and so alien. If you have never seen it before, like for myself, like dead giveaway, I live in Winnipeg, so I've kind of been familiar with Gama Singh for a long time. And I've been familiar with that whole kind of culture of how they train over in India, because I saw it through Calgary Stampede Wrestling. We used to get that on television here, actually. But long story short, but for a lot of people that haven't seen this before, I could see them looking at this and going what is this? You know, and wanting to know more, wanting to get invested into this. You can see how Gama Singh is really molding these two into his vision of what the Desi Hit Squad should be, and that is an elite tag team from India that wrestles the Indian style and just has that fast-paced but mat-based style of wrestling. And I love his mix too of when he's speaking to them, he speaks in English and then he goes to India and then he goes English again. It just, to me, gives off that natural feel because you would expect that in real life, right? Like, another sidebar, my grandfather, who's no longer with us, he's from Croatia, so, and I learned a lot of the Croatian language from him, so talking to him, there would be a lot of English, and then you switch to Croatian, and then into English, so when I'm watching Gama Singh on television, and especially in this segment, and I see that, to me, it's so natural, and it makes sense, because that's what it would be in real life.
Oh yeah, dude, and I'm not gonna lie, on a little sidebar myself, I know you being a fellow Canadian, so I had to talk about the Stampede Wrestling Gama Singh, so I had a feeling you would be very familiar with this.
Yes.
So I brought it up, alright.
Yeah, it's, if you were anywhere west of, I'm gonna say Toronto, in, well, the 80s and even into the 90s, because it went away for a while and then it came back, and they had a short stint in the early 2000s, I believe, as well. But yeah, you're familiar with a lot of the characters from that era. Like Jake the Snake was there for a long time. Obviously, all the Hearts and a lot of these characters, like Abdullah the Butcher as well, or Bad News Allen was there as well. So it just, when I kind of hear them, like, you know, people talk about them and they talk about like their WWF runs or the WCW runs, but they don't really know about that part of it. And I can kind of look back on it and say, yeah, I saw some of that. Like, you know, it's kind of cool. It's a neat little, I don't know what you want to say. It's just a neat little thing to be able to go back on.
Oh yeah, dude, I agree. Oh, I gotta mention this as well before it escapes me. We talked about Marty Scurll and Sami Callihan on the Jericho Cruise. It was also announced the first match for All In is going to be Marty Scurll versus Kazuchika Okada. What do you think?
Like, that's the opening match on the show?
No, this is the first match.
Oh, that's the first match.
So far, yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. I did catch on Twitter that they were going to announce the match, and then clearly I haven't seen it since then. But wow, yeah, if you're going to set the tone for what people can expect in this kind of a match, like to have a marquee matchup like that at All In, they have to be broadcasting this, right?
Yeah,
I'm
They've
interested.
been talking about it, yeah.
So in terms of this match specifically, I'm curious to see if Marty Scurll will change kind of the way that he wrestles to match Okada. That kind of like, because Okada is very much a power wrestler, and Marty Scurll is, well, he's the villain. He breaks fingers and he fucking does whatever he wants. But yeah, dude, what a dynamic! That'd be a hell of a match to watch. I sure hope it's broadcast.
I believe it is. The only thing I know is that Cody and the Young Bucks are working on it. I haven't heard where it's going to be broadcasted, but I think they just are being very, surprised, like, stay tuned kind of deal with it.
Which makes sense, because that's September 1st, right?
Yes, sir.
So you have essentially 2.5 months of build still. Well, no, not 2.5 months. I'm a little wrong about that. 2 months for sure of building it. Like, yeah.
All right, I got to mention this as well. Last thing, I swear, because I think this just came to my head. Rise of the Knockouts is this Saturday. We're one of the high-profile matchups, dude. We got Su Yung versus Soraya Knight, Paige's mother. Falls count anywhere for the Impact Knockouts Championship. What do you think?
I'm interested to see if they are going to show this on Impact or not, because it involves the Impact title. Like, if this was just a regular match, I could see them not. But because it involves the title, I wonder if they're going to work this into one of their segments in the next few Impact tapings. I don't know if they would show it before Slammiversary per se. I'm sure those shows are already recorded, but you almost couldn't ask for a more veteran presence for Su Yung to be in the. And I'm not saying that Su Young's a rookie by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not, but to be able to go in the ring with a legend like her and be able to work, that crowd is going to be insane, I'm quite sure. And couple that with, I had read that Rise is in a bit of financial distress, if you will, so I think that this show is, if it's not sold out yet, I can't imagine that it wouldn't be, but it might just it might just add to that whole atmosphere too, right? Like, you have, this could be the last, very well could be the last time you see this company here, and there's a title on the line. Just, for me, that has all the makings of having a classic match. So, yeah, I can't imagine that if they're able to film it, I'm not sure why Impact wouldn't film that match to air at a later date.
Yeah, and that's the thing with Rise. Like, hopefully they can pull like some sort of miracle out of this. But I think after this, they have their Rise Descent tapings, and then I think they're done after that.
Yeah, that's what because I follow, I can't remember his name, the owner of the company. Yes, I follow him on Twitter, and I had read the letter that he penned to the fans, and just a shame, hey?
Yeah, I agree. It's just, you have another like developmental system for Impact to work with, and they partner with Shimmer, so you see a lot of the Shimmer talents there, so that's a great relationship from them. And I have to ask you, speaking of another relationship, Jeff Cobb, Olympian, man, and I think Impact had interest in him. Matanza Cueto of Lucha Underground. We're going to see him this Saturday as well. He's going to be on a G1 in San Francisco going against Hiroki Goto for the Never Openweight Heavyweight Championship. So Lucha Underground tie in there with New Japan.
Which is interesting to me because they not have, was it not, and correct me if I'm wrong, CMLL was always that was the partnership with New Japan, and that was it for the longest time?
I believe so, yeah, I think you're right.
So now it's interesting to me, to have Lucha Underground, and I wonder if AAA now tries to get their foot in the door a little bit.
I mean, and it's interesting with the whole New Japan thing, because you see them working with Ring of Honor, you see Stardom working with Ring of Honor to have in the Women of Honor division, so it's interesting to see where their whole wrestling relationships on the side of things goes. It's
funny, because I thought that there was, and maybe it only works one way, and I'm not sure, that there was an agreement between, because Ring of Honor and New Japan have that very strong relationship, and I was under the impression that wrestlers from either company could appear on either company's television, but were forbidden from appearing on other televised events. So now it's interesting to me that you'll have, like you said, the guys from Lucha Underground appearing at the G1 special, because I didn't think that was possible, but obviously I'm proven wrong.
And it's funny too, because I remember when like Austin Aries wrestled Kenny King on Best in the World, and the Impact Ring of Honor relationship, dude. I'll tell you right now, I was there in house for this. This was in like 2006, I'll say, when Christian Cage was the NWA champion. He wrestled on Ring of Honor. I was there. It was him and Colt Cabana against Bryan Danielson and Christopher Daniels in a tag match, and he wrestled Christopher Daniels in a singles match. So it's not unheard of for Ring of Honor and TNA to work together. Samoa Joe worked their shows, Daniels, AJ Styles at the time, and like I mentioned, they were Christian Cage. So it's not unheard of that they've done it. But let's see where the relationship goes, if any, where to come into fruition.
Well, you would kind of hope that there would be at this point in time. Like, the wrestling landscape now is so different and much more diverse that why wouldn't you want to be open? You know what I mean? We obviously know that nobody's knocking the WWE off their pedestal anytime soon, probably not in my lifetime, but it would be nice if these other companies can get more of a foothold and more of a fan base. I'm not saying that they don't, but it'd be nice if they could kind of expand a little bit and not challenge for WWE's place in whatever, but at least be a viable alternative rather than, oh, that's an indie show, right? That's always how I find Ring of Honor or New Japan or Impact or whatever, you go on down the list, CMLL, AAA, Lucha Underground, whatever, they're always viewed as that independent show. You can't see because I'm on, audio, but I'm doing the quotation marks here. But that's always the look down at your nose because that's the independent show. So
I gotta mention this as well. I'm sorry to cut you off, man.
No, that's okay.
Okay, dude. So in October, there's going to be a show in Indiana, and guess what the main event is going to be highlighted by?
I couldn't tell you, to be honest.
Kongo Kong versus Falaba.
Really?
Yeah, he's the champion of this independent company in Indiana, where Kongo Kong lives and is from, and he's taking on Falaba for their championship. So we're going to get Kongo Kong and Falaba in October.
Please tell me you're going to go to that show.
I'm not in Indiana, but if I was, I would. But I'll probably catch it, social media. That's the beauty about social media. I know in North Carolina, I think Impact has that show coming up with that promotional God escapes. I think it's like AML or something like that. So you're going to see a lot of Impact talents there, a lot of North Carolinian talents there as well. So that's going to be interesting coming up at the end of July.
To me, it just makes sense, I know everybody's saying, Impact should go on the road more, they should go on the road more. And I'm, yes and no. Okay. They should go on the road, yes. But I like the way that they're doing it now where it's a partnership, right? They're partnering with somebody to do, the one-night only shows or whatever. So it's not so much of them bearing the burden and them going into a possibly cold market and maybe not doing as well. I'm not saying that they would or wouldn't, but what I am saying, it's nice to go somewhere where something is established and they can just partner up and kind of go that way. It grows the local brand, right? And it also grows Impact's footprint because people who may not see somebody like Brian Cage or Tessa Blanchard or whatever because maybe they haven't seen Impact before, right now they can see this person and go, oh, wait a minute, they were killer. What show are they on? And then it kind of leads you to find something different.
All right. Now, if you don't mind, dude, I got the card up for this whole thing coming up as far as in the Carolinas. Would it be all right if I just read the card to the audience?
Yes, please.
All right, give me 2 seconds. Well, one match that I'm intrigued on, Allie is going to be taking on a girl by the name of the Alien, Chris Statlander. Now, Chris Statlander, for those that don't know, was actually she was a Creative Pro student, Creative Pro graduate, the first female Creative Pro graduate on Long Island, New York. That's Kurt Hawkins' school. So you're going to see Allie versus Kristen Statlander. We're going to see Matt Seidel versus Caleb Conley, which I'm intrigued with that one very much.
Yeah, that'd be a good match.
Let me see what else I can find. But yeah, those are two of the main ones. And if I can find any more, I'll let you know. But yeah, those are the two main ones. It's going to be on Twitch. I'll tell everybody. It's July 29th on Twitch.
Yeah, that Caleb Conley's Matt Seidel match, that could be a hell of a match. I really like Caleb Conley. I didn't like him at first when he first came into Impact, but lately he's really, really won me over.
And you know what it is too? I've seen that guy work on independents all around. I mean, he's a guy like him and Trevor Lee were trained by the Hardy Boys. They've done Omega shows there in North Carolina with Shane Helms' books. So yeah, it's great to see him get the opportunity. Okay. Well, do you also know a couple matches that we have besides Farais, besides Su Yung and Saraya Knight? I'll give you a couple here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so we got the Bones of Contention against the Twisted Sisters. Now, for those that don't know about the Twisted Sisters, that's Hala Dead, who we've seen on Women of Honor and the Independence, and Thunder Rosa, who is also known as Cobra Moon on Lucha Underground. You get Madison Rain versus the Fallen Flower Kikyo. We get Madison Eagles versus Kimberly versus Shazza McKenzie, who was on NXT not too long ago against Kairi Sane. Kimberly, who was in the Mae Young Classic as Abby Lath. And Madison Eagles is just a great international talent. We got Tessa Blanchard versus Chris Wolf. Delilah Doom had to relinquish the Rise Championship due to injuries, so now that match is going to be Shotzi Blackheart versus Mercedes Martinez, who is another great athlete on the Indies. She was in the inaugural Mae Young Classic and wrestled in NXT. So the Twitch special looks to be heating up, man.
I hope that once again, I really hope that show does well. Like, to have a card like that and not have the viewership is would be a shame, a complete shame, to be completely honest.
Okay, and yeah, I think that's all I have to say about that. Sorry, folks, it's the Wi-Fi, but that's a little taste of what you can get coming on Twitch on Saturday and at the end of the month for July as far as Impact Wrestling goes.
And like I said, it's kind of neat to see, like, the Impact stars that you watch not on a weekly basis, because not everybody needs to be featured all the time, but featured in a different environment, and you can see them work different talents. And like I said, if you've never seen somebody work before and you catch them on the Twitch show, or you catch them on like a one night only or whatever, then you're able to get more invested, and then maybe if that match is good, then maybe you find that person coming to Impact in the near future. So it's all about, at this point in time, building bridges and building relationships, and yeah, they're definitely doing it the right way. So keeping in mind with that, I know Slammiversary, like we said, is a few weeks away, and while the entire card is not obviously mentioned yet, what are you most looking forward to going into the show, and what kind of directions would you like to see coming out of the show?
Austin Aries and Moose, in a way, I'm sorry, I'm kind of on that whole thing. I thought Austin Aries gave a great promo this week and his journey, but I'm kind of like a little on that. I'm really looking forward to Pentagon Jr. and Sami Callihan and the Mask versus Hair. With that Tommy Dreamer promo this week, I'm intrigued to see what goes on with him and Eddie Edwards in the House of Hardcore match. Su Yung and Madison Rayne, I'm a big Su Yung guy, so I'm looking forward to seeing the progression with Su Yung. Just make her the Knockouts champion, because the matchup is Su Yung and Rosemary. That's the matchup you got to have down the line. I'm going to try to say, what else can I say? What else did they announce? Besides Sammy and Pentagon, Eddie Edwards and Tommy Dreamer.
They have the four-man X Division. Yeah.
Beautiful. That's another one. We got Rich Swann, Johnny Impact, Taiji Ishimori, and Phoenix. Oh, just include them in the X Division. I think Rich Swann just going to the X Division. Him and Desmond Xavier, could you imagine them either against each other as a tag
my
team?
God, yeah.
So just keep letting those guys progress, do their thing in the X Division. Johnny Impact, well, he's got a score to settle with Kongo Kong as well, because Kongo Kong's the man that took him out. So I like to see them revisit back with Kongo Kong and Johnny Impact as well.
Yeah, I first off completely agree with the X Division. Now it's like they have honestly such a plethora of talent. It's like you can have fresh matches for 6-7 months at this point, like in a row consecutively, and really build that to what, or how good it used to be. And in terms of the Kongo Kong and Johnny Morrison, Johnny Impact, Johnny Mundo, whatever you want to call him, but call him what he is. He's a tremendous worker, and I would love to see them revisit that feud. Yeah, it was Kongo Kong that put him out of action there. I would love to see them kind of restart that one coming out of Slammiversary as well. And for myself, that Pentagon and Sami Callihan match, I'm sold. Like, I'm all in for that one. That's probably the one I'm looking forward to the most. For me, that has just that old school feel to it. Like, you don't see dynamics like that anymore. I think for that reason alone, plus, like, I think Sami Callihan's the best heel in the business right now, no questions asked. It just, I want to see what they do with the match, and I want to see kind of where they go after it. And then obviously you can jump back into the Sami Callihan, Eddie Edwards stuff whenever, because that's just nicely simmering on the back burner. And I don't know. Like I said at the top of the show, like, that Slammiversary card is really shaping up into something special. And like, Redemption was a good pay-per-view, but it didn't have the wow factor. Like, there was no match on Redemption that I was like, that's a can't miss, I have to see it. Right? There was matches I really wanted to see, but there wasn't the one that immediately drew my attention and I was sold about, right? Where this Slammiversary one, I can easily see, one for myself for sure that I just mentioned, but like, easily 2 to 3 matches that are like, I cannot miss. Like, I have to see this card to see what they do.
Oh, yeah. Like I said, like those matches that you mentioned, I'm intrigued. And I got to say this as well. Man, the fact that, I mentioned Vader passing away Matt Cappotelli passing at 38 with the whole, like I said, brain cancer, they came back. And I thought what Johnny Impact did on Twitter, his nice little tribute to him, because, man, I remember when they won Tough Enough 3 back in 03. I remember their first tag match against Lance Cade, God rest his soul, and Mark Jindrak on Sunday Night Heat. That's another loss, because from what I've heard from many people that got to work with him, Matt Cappotelli was just a very nice dude who loved wrestling, and unfortunately his career was cut short just because of the whole brain cancer.
Yeah, and it sucked because he had beat it, or so they thought, and then it came back, and not like, obviously it's a bad thing to happen, but just a terrible story, like, just when you think you're out of the woods, right, and like 38, like, man, I'm not too far from that myself, it's just crazy. And then the Vader thing was just like, that was just a shot in the gut too, because like 66, really, in like today's day and age, that's really not an old age at all anymore. And I know that he was battling, hard conditions for quite a while there, and he's another guy that I thought, okay, he's had a couple of surgeries, maybe he can be on the mend and kind of live more of a full life, and unfortunately that was not the case.
No, it's just, again, just rest in peace to both of them, man. A legend and just an all-around good guy in Matt Cappotelli. Same with Vader. People say what they say about Vader, but the man was a legend, wrestling the likes of Cactus Jack, Stan Hansen, Inoki, Shawn Michaels, The Undertaker, Kane, teaming with Mankind. Dude, I'll make a pop culture reference. I remember when he was Frankie Stechino's father on Boy Meets World.
Yeah, I was just going to say that, yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, just rest in peace to both of them.
So not to end this one on a downer, because obviously nobody wants a show to go out on that. So obviously you and I both really enjoyed this week's show. There's a few things to look forward to next week's show. Naturally, you've listened to my stuff a couple of times, and I usually do like a 4 thoughts segment, but just the two of us, I would just look for a thought if you have, just not so much in terms of matches or personnel or whatever, but if there was one thing that you would like to see Impact move towards or maybe improve in the next, we'll say 6 to 8 months, if there was kind of one thing you could put your finger on, what would it be?
Ooh, I think just include Eli Drake some more, because Dummy, has re-signed, and I want to see more Dummy, Says, I just want to see, I'm a big Eli Drake guy as well. I just keep focusing on that X division, man. Just Rich Swann, Ray Phoenix, just a lot of great guys there. Anything to improve, man? I can't think of anything right now. I'm sure it'll come to me, but just include those two and I'll be happy, because he get more accentuation on the X division. Just keep it coming.
Yeah, I have to agree with those points. For myself, I would have to say, the way that they're developing characters, I would like to see them stay the course, right? Like, really let the talent that they have now kind of dictate their own courses. It doesn't matter if you have hiccups along the way. It doesn't matter if maybe something doesn't work, or, somebody flubs a line in a promo in the middle of the ring. To me, I would much rather see somebody mess up a line in the ring and know that it's real, rather than watch somebody recite Hamlet in the ring, essentially. You know what I mean? So, for me, I would just like to see them kind of stay the course in the character development aspect of Impact Wrestling going forward. Oh,
yeah, dude. Oh, gotta mention this as well, because, like I said, I did do some shameless plugs here. I got one more I forgot to mention, and I think the Impact audience and the Impact fans that listen to your show, Taxman, will enjoy this. So, like I mentioned, SoundCloud, MC Larkin92, and Twitter at SM Show 1, where you can find all my stuff. But coming very soon to my channel there, I got an interview coming with former Ring of Honor and TNA superstar at the time, Jimmy Rave. So we will be talking some rock and rave infection on that show.
Nice. I'm looking forward to that one for sure.
Thank you, sir.
I'm also looking forward to seeing what you and the rest of your Heelcast stable has coming out in the near future as well.
Oh yeah, dude, follow us Twitter, _Heelcast. We're on YouTube. Just type in the Heelcast. We're there. We got more reviews coming. I'm sure the guys are going to be doing some more interviews as well. You can find me on there. Find Impact Dude, Raven Effect, Kyle, Hurls, the whole nine, man. Just tune into the Heelcast and enjoy.
And make sure you subscribe as well on YouTube. I always find you get the views and whatever, but the subscriptions help too because it kind of validates us as content producers when you kind of see people kind of hopping on the, not really the bandwagon, but I'll call it the bandwagon. Why not? It's a fitting term, if you will. So it's just nice validation. So make sure you check them out on YouTube and make sure you hit that subscribe button, and the follow one on Twitter is a nice one to hit as well.
Yes.
All right, so I'm going to let you go for this evening. It was a tremendous time talking to you, man, and I very much appreciate you joining me on the show tonight.
Dude, it was great talking to you as well. Anytime you want me back, I'll be down.
Well, with an offer like that, how could I refuse, as Mr. Corleone would say? So,
exactly, yes.
Right on, man. I very much appreciate it, and you have yourself a great night. And once again, where can they find you on Twitter?
At SM Show 1, at the _Heelcast on the Twitter. Just everything will be there. Our links, my links. It's a beautiful thing, man, this podcasting world.
And hit your follow button on that one, too. Boom. Alright, so before I get out here for tonight, once again, I just really want to thank Mike for joining me for the conversation tonight. Like I said, it was just, and I'm sure you could tell, just how free-flowing and how much we enjoyed just talking Impact, and I really do hope that it translated over for you guys. I've been so fortunate to be joined by such great guests during my course of doing these podcasts, whether it was Hollywood Southern Dandy, whether it was Jimmy, whether it was the guys from the Heads Network, Trent and Kyle, or whether tonight is from Mike, and I have a few people that I'm kind of lining up for future spots to do on the show. It's so nice for me to just kind of sit back and just bounce ideas off and just talk Impact and just really enjoy the conversation, and because I enjoy the subject matter, and I really, like I said, I hope that it translates well over the audio as much as it did in the heat of the moment doing it with him. So once again, you can follow Mike, and I very hope much that you do, on Twitter at SMShow1. You can also follow the Heelcast at _Heelcast. I will also link them to the initial tweet for this week's episode. Also this week, I got to really shout out a few people. Like I said, one of them is Michael, because every week on a Follow Friday, he always puts me over. It's so tremendous. Things like that I appreciate a lot more than maybe I say sometimes, so that's why I had made the point to thank him for that when I had him on the show. But I really got to thank Terry. She always puts me over every week on Twitter. Jimmy's fantastic. Autobus Maximus always put me over. And Jimmy Evans as well. Every day he's putting me out there, as well as guys like Robert. I'm blown away that you guys honestly take the time to kind of help me out. And I like to think that I at least try to reciprocate just between us helping each other out, and there's the Discuss PW guys and the Heads Network guys as well. I can't forget all of you, and I'm sure that there's some other ones I'm leaving out, and I try not to forget about everybody, and I try really hard to try and help everybody who helps me out. So the least I can do is at least give you guys a little shout out, because it really does mean a lot to me that you guys take the time out of your day to just help little old me out, so I very much appreciate that. So keeping in mind with all that, you can find us on YouTube. Use that wonderful search bar on YouTube. Type in Six Sided Podcast. You'll find our playlist. I hope that you'll obviously enjoy listening to this one. Maybe this is the first time you've heard us. I highly suggest that you go back and listen to some previous episodes. Last week's, especially with the Heads Network guys, was really good. Like I said, I had a great one with Jimmy, and when I was joined by Hollywood Southern Dandy, talking about Impact and WrestleMania, that was a really good episode as well. So if you haven't heard those ones, or maybe you skipped one or two, I highly suggest that you take a look back in time, if you will, at some of the previous podcasts that I've done. Also, you can follow me on Twitter at 6_podcast. And you can also drop me a line anytime on Gmail, 6sidepod@gmail.com. There's no numbers or gimmicks in that one, just straight up 6sidepod@gmail.com. And like I said, give Michael a follow. All the other ones that I associate with this podcast, make sure you give them a follow as well. And once again, if you want to be on the show or a part of the show or have ideas, whatever, drop me a line. Hey, I would love to have as many people on the show as I could, because honestly, it's just such a breeze for me, and it's a ton of fun, and it's nice to be able to bounce ideas off fellow Impact Wrestling fans. So with all that being said, I'm going to end this show like I usually do, and I will ask that you all take care of yourselves and each other. Have a good night, everyone.